Hey guys, welcome to Juicy Tea, where I read out the best stories on Reddit, so you don't have to. The funny, shocking, and satisfyingly juicy. Today is Bridezilla Saturday, with the craziest wedding stories from across Reddit. I, 28 female, refused to sign my marriage license at my wedding to 28 male, and now I think I should leave him. Our first post comes from the relationship advice subreddit, posted by Guilty But Honest. It's been a month since my wedding with Fred, and I'm refusing to sign our marriage license, and now I'm honestly considering leaving him. For 6 years, I believe Fred and I were on the same page about what we wanted from one another and our future. We agreed, and he made this point as well, that we didn't want children, ever. And I made it clear before and during the wedding planning that I wasn't changing my last name, ever. And he agreed to this. I'm an only child, while Fred has 3 brothers. My last name dies with me, while his family last name will continue on with his 3 brothers, who are all married with children. And with all this considered, I believe there wasn't an issue because Fred agreed to it. I personally hate the tradition of taking the husband's last name. In my personal, every right to have an opinion, for all you ready to jump into the comments, it's an archaic tradition that feels more like a transfer of property to a man than a union. And even though I'm never having children, even the thought of someone else's name being attached to my hypothetical child's, if I do 9 months of creating it and wrecking my body, just doesn't sit well with me. On top of that, why should I have to change all my registered IDs and documentation just because I'm a woman? That's not fair. So, it's our wedding day, and Fred really pushed to have a ceremony in front of everyone where we'd sign our marriage license together. He was first to go, so when it was my turn, he had his hand placed really weirdly on the document. I told him to move his hand. We had an awkward, quiet battle about it, and then when he finally did, I saw what he was hiding. It was his job to fill out all the forms for the license since he offered to do that for me, so I had one less thing to worry about. And he went behind my back and purposely filled it out so I'd be taking his last name. Turns out, in Florida, you can put your maiden name and the name you're changing it to on the form, and that's what I saw on the license. Both names. We were at the clerk together with all of our needed IDs and documentation, and I was so stressed out and exhausted that I wasn't paying attention. And I effing trusted him, so I never thought once that in any world I would need to review what he filled out, or to even review the license when we had it in hand. I refused to make a scene in front of all of our friends and family, or fall into the pressure I was under, so I pretended to sign it, and the rest of the night was ruined for me. Everything I thought we agreed to, all my preferences he knew about, and thought he respected were effing destroyed. It was like my world was ending in what should have been the best day of my life. Fred is now a completely different person. He's all about tradition now, and how it's his right to have a wife with his last name, and how it's embarrassing that his brother's wives didn't make this an issue for them, and how all his friends will give him poop if I don't change it. He keeps saying that it's not a big deal, and I'm ruining our future. On top of that, he keeps bringing up the child argument, saying we both can't have the same last names and they should take mine. We said we didn't want kids. I know it's technically the certificate that changes your last name, but to know that this was what he wanted all along and that he was willing to try and pull one over on me is disgusting. I feel manipulated and heartbroken, and now he's put all the pressure on me to make a decision because time's running out to fill out our marriage certification and he isn't changing his mind. I feel like I've wasted our guests' time, ours and our family's money for the wedding, and now our futures together. Because I let him fool me for 6 years, and I never saw this happening to me. I feel like I've wasted my life, and I'm backed into a corner with someone who I don't even recognize anymore. 6 years. Oh, what a long con. My best friend's sister still thinks her wedding is the most important day 2 years on. Our next post comes from the Bridezilla subreddit, posted by KeithWorus1969. In December 2019, my best friend Lexi got engaged to Matt. Matt's sister Karen also got engaged 3 months earlier to Todd. Here's where Karen's first annoyance came from. She was mad at Matt for proposing to Lexi in the same year that Todd proposed to her. Effing audacity! Matt had been planning this since the year before, and he didn't know that Todd was going to pop the question at all until he did. She didn't congratulate them, just said, "That's nice," before blowing up at Matt for stealing her engagement year. Then lockdown came. Karen originally wanted to get married in the middle of 2020, but couldn't. Lexi and Matt chose a date in August 2021. Karen was so determined to have her wedding before Matt and Lexi that she ended up changing her date 5 times, but also asking if they would move theirs. They said no. Money was also a massive deal to her. Matt and Karen's parents set a limit on what they'll be contributing for each of their weddings, but Karen would cry and say she needs more help. So basically, Matt and Lexi paid for their wedding themselves and did an amazing job. Karen's hen party just wasn't going to happen, so she decided it would take place the year after her wedding. So, not really a hen party, as she'll be married, but whatever, I'm petty. Me and another friend were planning Lexi's hen party, and Karen was invited as Lexi really wanted a good relationship with her. Karen wouldn't respond to any messages, or would say, "I need to check the date." This went on for days to weeks, to then just deciding to not attend. She basically messed us around so we couldn't book the original place we wanted, but we managed to get something even better. Karen and Todd got married. The day of Lexi and Matt's wedding, the service was lovely and the bride and groom headed off to take photos, so me and the bridesmaids, including Karen, and the groom's party was helping set up the reception for their arrival. The bride and groom took over an hour and a half to get back due to an issue with their car. So Karen took that as a signal to go around the reception talking about her wedding and even got an effing slideshow up at the reception to show off her photos. What the hell? How'd she even get that prepped? This lasted about 5 minutes until I unplugged the projection to Karen's annoyance, but I said that Lexi told me to get her entrance photos up as she'd be here soon. Karen tried taking up the photographer's time for photos of herself. She also switched around the place card settings so that she would be at the center of the bride and groom's table. Lexi and Matt had to explain that she wasn't seated with them and moved everything back. Lexi announced that she was pregnant early this year, which made me so happy. She made me godmother and auntie, as we've been friends and basically family our whole lives. Turns out she's having a girl. Matt's family has weirdly only had men for a few decades, with the special exception of Karen. She loved the fact that she was the only girl in the family. Well, not anymore. Groom proposed an hour before the ceremony. Our next post comes from the r/weddingshaming subreddit, posted by Heather B. Gonna shame my own wedding and groom. I met my now husband 10 years ago in college and was ready to marry him one day. 6 years in, we'd made appointments to make our own wedding bands with a blacksmith, but had to cancel due to unexpectedly moving across the country to work again. We waited, and at some point, he got stuck on never getting married. I think part of it was the pressure I put on a perfect proposal, and knowing that we'd have to deal with my difficult parents. Our lives together have been great. We own a house together. He said he wanted to spend the rest of his life with me, but marrying just wasn't in his plans. It was heartbreaking because everything else about him and our relationship is perfect. After COVID settled down, on our 9-year anniversary, I brought up the idea of getting married again. Our 10-year would land on a Saturday, and I love the idea of keeping our date the same. He said he was open to it and we could talk further. It was a slow build, but he agreed to marry me. He was involved with the planning, and I was careful to not overwhelm him. I can get excited and blurt out a million ideas sometimes. I gave him certain things to be in charge of that I knew he would enjoy, and he would give feedback, and we had a really good time putting our wedding together as a team. I wanted to do photos before the ceremony, so both our families met at the venue 2 hours before the wedding. We were nearing the end of the photos when he suddenly got down on one knee. It was so unexpected, something I was sure I would never get to experience. He proposed in front of our entire families, and it was perfect. I cried, he cried even more, and I said yes. So yeah, We had a 55-minute engagement and a wonderful wedding filled with laughter and happiness. I will tease him for the rest of our lives about how long he made me wait and how patient I am. And on that wholesome note, have a great weekend, everyone. Remember, I post new content every day, so subscribe for more juicy tea.